So we're back here at Santa Paula Pick the Part. This is not my normal yard. Normally we're at Sun Valley LKQ. This is a different yard. It's a little bit closer, it's a little bit cheaper, and it's pretty interesting. It has a lot different and older stuff. We haven't been here for almost 2 years. It's been well over a year. It does have some pretty good trucks here. We're at the back, we're gonna work our way forward. The trucks are in the back, cars are up in the front. I'm not necessarily looking for a motor. I've got too much right now. There's a couple other things I've seen. But yeah, definitely I want to see what else I can find, what else I can talk about, and what else I can buy. So all the way in the corner, we've got this giant GMT 400 or GMT 480, I think they're technically called, 3/4 ton, non-LS vehicle. And what I'm interested in is, so it actually has a 4L80. So Sun Valley, they have made a new policy, and why I haven't been back there in so long. Engines and transmissions are no longer one price. They cost whatever they decide they are based off your make model. So we were trying to figure out what year this thing was. There's no sticker like LKQ, but we've determined it's a 99. It's funny how this truck lasted so long as still a not an LS vehicle, but all 4L80s from 91 all the way till the 2000s were all the same, but this one is still an OBD21 anyway. So I think I might take this with me. The LKQ 4L80s are more money than I used to sell them, so I'm not gonna get them there anymore. So this thing's already pulled. It's all the way to the back of the yard though. So, got the converter out of it, so it's a little bit lighter. All right, so we got drive shaft off. It's got a companion flange because I guess it's a more of a 1-ton application. But we'll leave this here. Like I said, it's literally in the corner. Work our way up, find some other stuff I want, and then come back with a wheelbarrow, cart, or whatever, and haul this freaking 300-pound beast away. So here's something interesting. This yard doesn't have nearly as good as stuff as LKQ. It's smaller, it's cheaper, like I said. But this is I don't know exactly what year, but a GMT 800 Escalade LQ9 flat top, blah, 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 blah. So obviously it's pretty stripped bare already. But if you come here enough, you get lucky. You do find 6.0s, you do find LQ9s. So they are in these yards. These things are getting old, so they're around. But yeah, so somebody scored. There's a couple other things over there that also other people scored on, but yeah, they do exist. You just gotta get lucky. So then we have this thing. This motor looks very clean. It's like the cleanest one I've seen ever. Turns out it's got Reman stickers on it. So it's pretty interesting too. Also, this is a truck. So we've got a handful of trucks here. I find LKQ only really seems to have SUVs because people obviously drive trucks for much longer. They use them for much longer. But yeah, so we've got a truck with a Reman motor. Somebody's already started taking it apart for some godforsaken reason. It's probably a good one to pull because it's whatever. And then interesting enough, right next to it, it's a pretty interesting truck. Also, it's another truck. It's completely stripped clean. This is a 4-wheel drive single cab. It's a VIN Z, so it's a later L59 E85 capable 5.3, and then it has a manual transfer case. So this is, I guess, an NP241. I probably think what it would be. Driver drop, so not like it's a. Oh no, it'd be a 261, not a 241. A 261 driver drop manual thing, and then E85, and it's a single cab. So this thing, and it's a 5.3. So this thing pretty much had everything, and then obviously I don't know why it's here, but someone else clearly wanted all the pieces out of it, and it's pretty stripped clean. And then actually right after I said that, I realized, yeah, this is why it's here. So total bummer that this thing was a running really, total option truck that everybody wants, but somebody slammed into it, and here it lasts. So just as I said about that Escalade over there, here's another Escalade, VIN N, so another LQ9 6.0, totally gone, totally stripped out. But yeah, so this yard, you get lucky with stuff. I've never seen it, but apparently there's been like T56s here. This is the yard where you get lucky. All right, so now these two trucks have something that I'm going to be pulling. So I've been doing a lot of swapping and stuff not filming and yada, yada, yada. I have a lot of people that want a lot of parts, and these two trucks have what I'm looking for. So these are cable throttle trucks. In 03, everything went to the P59 PCM, all electronic throttle, unless it's a van, but that's more rare. And then some of these also came with a electronic throttle, like the C5 Corvette style, where it's really long. And I seem to find that most of these things I find are either that electronic throttle, or if they're cable throttle, everything's taken. So I've got a ton of manifolds, I've got a bunch of people wanting engines. Both of these have their cable throttles here, and they also have their PCMs. These are both 0102s, so they both have their 0411s. So I'm gonna take both the 0411s, take both throttle bodies, combine them into like full kits of manifolds and stuff I have at the house, and if anybody is looking for an 0411 that I can, turn bats off or make a, do some segment swapping on, or a complete manifold that's set up to run on a swap, let me know. I'm going to keep them in stock. So I got the throttle body off. So yeah, these are 99 to 02 and even on the car manifold as well, but there's just not as many of them because everything became electronic throttle. And then also, so this is the throttle position sensor. This is the idle air control motor. These new in like a parts store are like $100. This is like 30, this is like the 35, this is like 65. They're pretty expensive because they never break. And then, so I got the computer out too. I haven't unbolted it. You can see here, so 0411. So the P01 was from 99 to 02, and then specifically the 01 and 02 has this part number ending in 0411, and that's where they're called 0411s. So this one and then that one, which I'll pull, I pretty much don't have to segment swap at all. They're already 5.3, they're already cable throttle, and then I just have to turn off VATs and stuff, and then I'll have PCMs in stock. The other thing I'm stealing from these two, not stealing, buying, is the throttle bracket. So all of the cable throttle or electronic throttle manifolds have these same bosses here, and then there's the bracket to actually have the cable. So now I've got these in stock too, because I keep not having these. Now we're on the other one. So I got cable throttle, 2 sensors, the computer, 0411, and the bracket. And here's something also interesting. So here we have a GMT 900. So I talk about in the Sun Valley yard about how I want the GMT 900 to get old enough to be in yards. There's a bunch of parts that I want for myself for my own 2012, but now I guess they're getting cheap enough if they're totally like flipped over to where they'll actually be in the Sun Valley yard. So this is an 07 or 08 because you see it has the badge of excellence. And then you can't see the VIN because it's buried, but this was a 5.3 flex fuel, so an LMG, so VIN 0, I believe. So somebody obviously pulled all that. It was obviously in good shape because there's a bunch of rollover stuff, and then it's got some interior stuff, but it's all kind of thrashed. So this thing's optioned kind of weird. It's an LS, so it's low option, but it's got leather, but it's got the jump seat with a SUV dash and no console. And then, so yeah, leather seat. I want to put leather in my Silverado, but these are kind of gross. And then they've got TVs in the back. And then these also have freaking big ass 26s. So these are some big mega wheels. I think there's only 2, like there's not even all there, but yeah, not really much else I can take. All the exhaust is already gone. So yeah, I'm gonna wait, I have to find like a true dismantler to get the interior parts that I want. The one more thing I want to talk about, this is going to be long, so I guess bear with me. But so I've been working on the Monza a lot. I have some pretty crazy ideas as far as what I want to do with that, as far as ignition and maybe even fuel injection, all with the small block. But a lot of the ideas I have are basically robbing from Vortec 350s. So this is a Vortec 350. I think we determined it's an OBD. Oh yeah, they're all OBD2, obviously. It's not exactly the one that I want to source all stuff off from. So in 01, they went to the P01, like I said, that computer that I have. The express fans had that with a Vortec. This is not that. There's no express fans here, which I'm realizing now is actually kind of odd. There's usually a lot of express fans. So I can kind of go over the stuff I want to go over. So this computer with all these connections, that's whatever the P01 precursor is, that's not it. But I'm interested in swapping the Monza to a Vortec style distributor because it's all fixed and it's flat and it'll clear the throttle body, or not, it'll clear the air cleaner better. So I might pull this one out. It's got a plug. Yeah, I'll pull that out in a second. I'll talk about it. The other thing I want to do is, so the Vortec intake manifold is not that good. It's got a feed and return hard line in here, injectors with the spider all in there, but it has very similar throttle body to the ones that I just pulled from those LSs, but mounted horizontally with cables and everything. So what I kind of want to do eventually is run the Monza with a P01 computer with a segment swap from a Vortec. So it's a LS style computer running a fuel injected, or at least control the ignition through that P01 with this throttle body, with these sensors, and then also running an electronic trans. So this one's kind of grody. I'm not going to steal stuff on it, but I was hoping I would find a 01 or 02 express fan, rob a lot of the parts, and then start, piecing stuff together and seeing what I can make. The other thing that I want to steal from Vortex is basically this stuff right here. So similar to how the LS had a big aluminum block for all the accessories, you've got a CS130D. This is the same alternator that comes on the Porsche and Camaro that I use in all my swaps. That bolts into a factory bracket. This bolts to a head. It's got a built-in tensioner, so no more having to tweak this to actually make it tension. The alternator's over here, so where I find a lot of aftermarket things, put it over here where you have steering and stuff going on, and battery usually over here, but alternator's all the way over there. And this is a built-in tensioner. And then the water pump spins backwards because it's going this way instead of this way. And then it's got external bypass, it's the Vortec. There's a couple things that I need to figure out, but like I said, I've got some ideas. I'm not gonna steal this one, but next Vortec 350 express one I find, I'm gonna basically strip it down, steal a bunch of pieces, and see what I can adapt for the Monza specifically, but LS style stuff on small blocks. So we actually found a much cleaner truck to explain what I was just talking about. So here we've got that same throttle body, it's nice and shiny, like brand new clean, and then distributor was already nice and pulled out for me. So what I like about this is just, you see how like little is not here? Just the cap goes on this. This is totally fixed, there's no advance. All of the advance is handled by the computer, which this is not an 0411, this is the precursor. And yeah, so the more I'm looking at this, like I said, I'm not gonna pull this one, but I've definitely got my ideas going about how I can use this for all the Monza stuff. So we're over here on the other side of the yard. One thing I am looking for, so for the Monza, it just got 5-lug fronts, finally after almost 2 years. It desperately needs 5-lug rears, and the way to do that is either get fancy brakes, re-drill the stock 4-lug drums for 5-lug, or, well not or, but if you do it without building the axle, you can technically steal S10 axles. It's pretty well known that the H body and the S10s have the exact same width. Problem is that this is a 28 spline because it's sometime in the 90s and the 4x4s, whatever. They all had 20 spline, 28 spline, correct width, whereas the 26s is all the early S10s. Normally this place actually has a lot of early S10s. There's 0 here. So I was hoping we'd find that, have some axles to maybe do some testing, but no, just 28s. We've got this S10, 28. We've got a Extreme Colorado and an Extreme S10 over there. So late S10s, much bigger axles, no 26s. So we're all the way back at the very front of the yard. There really wasn't anything interesting as far as cars go on the way here, but I guess the last thing I'll talk about is this thing. So this is really only interesting to me. Here we have an 06 Pontiac G6 GT, no, GTP. So this thing's actually kind of a fast car, you know, if you want to call it that. It's a 3.9 liter LZ9. So the 60-degree V6, I think it's called the high value, not the high feature. The high feature and high value are two different engines, but long story short, this is the 60-degree V that was front-wheel drive all the time. They eventually made the 3.5 LZ5 3.5 LZ5 3.9 LZ9. This was the big block hot rod motor. So I do at some point want to do something with a V6. You know, I have all these crazy ideas with all these different engines. These things are really cool. I really want to like build a carb manifold for it because I want to do everything carb. But yeah, so these motors exist. They're pretty much worthless, but maybe someday I'll grab one and tear it open. All right, so I got all my stuff in the back of the truck. I brought the Silverado. Normally I bring the Avalanche, but I guess I've relegated the Silverado to junkyard runs. So I've got my 480, my 2 throttle bodies with my complete sensors, and my 2 0411s. So yeah, these are basically gonna be in the inventory. So people are buying a lot of modes off of me. I've been not filming them, just, you know, flipping and doing whatever. I've got a lot of stuff, and I got a lot of stuff to move, so let me know what you need.